So I'm sure you've heard the news. It's been everywhere. Queen Elizabeth reportedly died this year on September 8th. So there's some 9/11 connections here, which probably many people have pointed out by now. This immediately made me think of a Charlie Sheen movie called 9/11, which I watched pretty recently. It was put out September 8th, 5 years ago. So Queen Elizabeth died September 8th. So that's the anniversary of when Charlie Sheen put out this movie called 9/11. Now, people have been making 9/11 connections with the Queen for a while now, long before her reported death. For instance, September 11th is the day that leaves 111 days remaining till the end of the year, so there's something called a mirror date. The mirror date of 9/11 is April 21st. That's the day it's the 111th day of the year normally. If we're not talking about a leap year, and Queen Elizabeth was born on April 21st, the 111th day of the year. So again, she was born on the mirror date of September 11th. And again, she died on the anniversary of this movie put out by Charlie Sheen called 9/11. She died September 8th. That movie came out on September 8th. September 8th this year, if we use that as a starting point, Queen Elizabeth's death date, going backwards 911 days, that brings you to when the WHO, the World Health Organization, declared the coronavirus pandemic. The corona. Corona means crown, as many have pointed out. Corona means crown. And I just got to point this out that there's been people who have connected 9/11 to coronavirus, particularly Zachary K. Hubbard. You could check out his book. That's literally the title, Number Games, 9/11 to coronavirus. So we have some connections with the coronavirus and 9/11. Now we have these connections with 9/11 and the Queen, the Crown. And I got to point out, since I mentioned Zachary K. Hubbard, I would think that his most notable prediction, that's the prediction that I saw him rise to prominence, was when he predicted the death of Prince months before it happened. And Prince supposedly died in an elevator, right? Well, this movie that I'm talking about, this Charlie Sheen movie called 9/11, it's about Charlie Sheen's character and a few others who died in an elevator in one of the World Trade Center buildings on that infamous date, 9/11. I mean, Zach's made plenty of predictions, but I was watching his channel before he made that prediction, and his subscriber count seemed to climb significantly. He got his radio show not long after that, TFR, the Gematria Effect. But anyways, check out his book and whatever. Just going back to this Charlie Sheen connection again. That movie came out 5 years to the day before Queen Elizabeth died. And Queen Elizabeth died September 8th this year, 911 days after the Corona was declared a pandemic, a worldwide pandemic. Now, that was declared March 11th, 2020. March 11th is a day that you can write 3/11, 3/11, and there's some interesting connections with 9/11 right there. 3:11 p.m. on a clock is 911 minutes into the day. You have to know about how time works and whatnot, but it's pretty easy once you know this. 3:11 p.m. is 911 minutes into the day. March 11th, 3/11, is when Corona was declared a pandemic. After the 9/11 attack, the first ever so-called tribute in light began on March 11th the following year, 3/11, which is the halfway point between the previous September 11th and the next September 11th. So from 9/11 to 9/11, the midway point is 3/11. And again, 3/11 was when the WHO, the World Health Organization, declared the Corolla a worldwide pandemic. And then 911 days later, the Queen dies. The Queen wears a crown. Crown, Corona, coronation. There's also a lot more to talk about with eclipses and the corona and the eye and the corona, the heart, corona. But I want to keep this video short and simple. And something I heard on a broadcast, there was a video put out by Queen Elizabeth not long after the declaration of Corona as a pandemic. She pointed out that she noticed a lot of people, children, were drawing rainbows, attributing the workers helping with the crisis, the Corona crisis. And I believe the video was called, it was the name of a song, Vera Lynn's song, "We Will Meet Again." That's a quote that she used in that broadcast not long after the declaration of Corona as a pandemic. We will meet again. That's a reference, I believe, to a Vera Lynn song. And by chance, you could say coincidence or not, I don't know. But Vera Lynn died not long after, maybe not long or before or after that declaration. I think she died on June 18th, 2020. But yeah, so she quoted that song. She talked about the rainbows that children were drawing. And this rainbow made me think of a Bible passage. If you start on Genesis 9:11 and then read a few passages in, it talks about this covenant between God and the people. And the sign of the covenant was a rainbow. But then you think of rainbow like another word, reign, R-E-I-G-N, reign, as in the Queen's reign or the King's reign. Dan Barron's been doing some brilliant work. He's talking about a lot about umbrella symbolism. And umbrella can not only shelter from the rain, it also blocks the sun. It's a parasol. Blocks the sun. So thinking about eclipses, the eclipse, the solar eclipse, there's something called the corona that becomes visible. I can leave a link to a video if I still have it up about, I mentioned the birthday of Prince Charles, who now is going to be, I guess, King Charles III. But that video had to do with eclipses. There was an episode of an old television show called Trackdown. That might have been the show or the episode. It's about like the end of the world or something. This meteor shower that was going to hit, and a con man was selling people. I think he might have been selling them protection, but they were going to use parasols in the middle of the night where there was no sun. But they were going to use parasols, and the end of the world was going to be on November 14th, which just so happens to be King Charles's birthday, or Prince Charles. I guess he's going to pick the name King Charles III, probably. So I'll leave a link in the description box for that video. And it's interesting, that had more to do with Trump. That con man was Mr. Trump. Not Donald Trump, obviously, but people made some parallels there. But anyway, I should probably leave it there. Just this quick recap. This death date, September 8th, for Queen Elizabeth, reminded me of the movie, the Charlie Sheen movie 9/11 that came out on September 8th.